Model learning outcome. Today I'll talk about the verb tenses. I mean the present tense, the past tense, and the future tense. First, I'll talk about present tense. Simple present. The simple present is a verb tense with two main uses. We use the simple present tense when an action is happening right now, or when it happens regularly. Depending on the person, the simple present tense is formed by use the root form or by adding s or s to the end. For example, I walk around the forest. The other use is to talk about habitual actions or occurrences. For example, I go to school every day. In the simple present, most regular verbs use the root form, except in the third person singular, which ends in s. That is to say, for the first person singular, the example is I write. But for the third person singular, the example is he writes or she writes, not the is. Present progressive. The present progressive tense indicates continuing action, something going on now. The present progressive can suggest that an action is going to happen in the future, especially with verbs that convey the idea of a plan or of movement from one place or condition to another. For example, my soccer team is arriving in 2 hours. Because the present progressive can suggest either the present or the future, it is usually modified by adverbs of the time. Generally, progressive forms occur only with what are called dynamic verbs, and not with static verbs. We can also use it to talk about temporary actions, trends, and things that are happening these days. How to form the present progressive? This tense is formed with the helping to be verb in the present tense, plus the present participle of the verb with an ing ending, plus complement. For example, he is working through the holiday break. Present perfect simple. The present perfect simple expresses an action that is still going on or that stopped recently, but has an influence on the present. It puts emphasis on the result. How to form the present perfect simple? For regular verbs, use the participle form. For regular verbs, we just add ed. First, for the positive form, we must use subject plus have plus verb in past participle. For example, you have written or she has cooked. Second, for the negative form, we must use subject plus have plus verb in past participle. You have not, for example, you have not written or she has not cooked. For the question form, we must use have plus subject plus verb in past participle. Have you written? Has she cooked? Use of present perfect. First, puts emphasis on the result. For example, he has written a book. 2. Action that is still going on. For example, the classes has not started yet. 3. Action that stopped recently. For example, I have cooked my breakfast. 4. Finished action that has an influence on the present. For example, she had lost her favorite t-shirt. 5. Action that has taken place once, never several times before the moment of speaking. For example, you have never been in Mexico. Now we have present perfect progressive. The present perfect progressive expresses an action that recently stopped or is still going on. It puts emphasis on the duration or course of the action. How to form the present progressive? Uh, for the positive form, we use subject more plus have plus been plus the present participle of the verb with an ing ending plus complement. For example, he had been writing. For the third person, he has been cooking. In the negative form, we must use subject plus have plus been plus not plus the present participle of the verb. For example, we have not been writing or he has not been cooking. For the question form, we must use have plus subject plus been plus the present participle of the verb. For example, have we been writing? Has he been cooking? Use of present perfect progressive. First, puts emphasis on the duration or course of an action, not the result. For example, I have been writing for 7 hours. 2. Action that recently stopped or is still going on. For example, he has been living here since 2010. 3. Finance action that influence in the present. For example, he has been working all the night. Now I'll talk about past tenses. First, we have simple past. The simple past is a verb tense that is used to talk about things that happened or existed before now. For example, I won the silver medal. The simple past tense shows that we are talking about something that has already happened. Hmm, how to form the simple past? For the positive form, we must use subject plus verb in past form plus complement. For example, we played in the park a week ago. For the negative form, we must use subject plus did not or didn't plus root form of the verb plus complement. For example, you didn't listen to music yesterday. For the question form, we use did plus subject plus root form of the verb. For example, did they decide fairly? Let's see how verbs work in the past. First, for regular verbs, add ed to the root form of the verb, or just d if the root form already ends in an e. For example, play, played. For irregular verbs, things get more complicated. The simple past tense of some regular verbs looks exactly like the root form. For example, put, put. For other irregular verbs, including the verb to be, the simple past forms are more erratic. For example, see, saw. The past progressive. The past progressive tense indicates continued action, something that was happening going on at some point in the past. The past progressive puts emphasis on the course of an action in the past. How we form the past progressive? This tense is formed with the helping to be verb in the past tense, plus the present participle of the verb with an ing ending, plus complement. For example, for example, she was working in the hospital last week, or we were riding our bike yesterday. For the negative form, we must use subject plus did not or didn't plus root form of the verb plus complement. She was not working in the hospital last week. We were not riding our bike yesterday. Question. For the question form, we must use did plus subject plus present participle of the verb. For example, was she working in the hospital last week? Or were we riding our bike yesterday? The past progressive indicates a limited duration of time, and is thus a convenient way to indicate that something took place in the simple past, while something else was happening. For example, Carlos lost his watch while he was running. The past progressive can express incomplete action. For example, I was sleeping when Mrs. Smash threw the door. The past progressive is also used to poke fun or criticize an action that is sporadic but habitual in nature. For example, my father was always lecturing my brother. Finally, I'll talk about future tenses. First, we have simple future tense. The simple future is a verb tense that's used to talk about things that haven't happened yet. Use the simple future to talk about an action or condition that will begin and end in the future. How to form the simple future tense? It doesn't matter if the subject is singular or plural. The formula for the simple future doesn't change. Let's see. For the positive form, we must use subject plus will plus root form of the verb plus complement. For example, I will do exercise next year. For the negative form, subject plus will plus not plus root form of the verb plus complement. She will not study in the university. For the question form, we must use will plus subject plus root form of the verb plus complement. Will you ask for the homework? Future progressive tense. The future progressive tense indicates continuing action, something that will be happening going on at some point in the future. It's a verb tense that indicates that something will occur in the future and continue for expected length of time. It is important to note that the future continuous tense is only used with action verbs, because it is possible to do them for a duration. How to form future progressive tense? For the positive form, we must use subject plus will plus be plus the present participle of the verb with an ing ending plus complement. For example, he will be running. For the negative form, we must use subject plus will not plus be plus the present participle of the verb plus complement. For example, I will not be reading. For the question form, we we must use will plus subject plus be plus the present participle of the verb with an ing ending plus complement. For example, will you be asking for the homework? Finally, we have future perfect. How to form future perfect? For the positive form, we must use subject plus will have plus past participle of the main verb plus complement. For example, he will have finished his homework. For the negative form, we must use subject plus will not have or won't plus past participle of the main verb plus complement. For example, I won't have arrived. For the question form, we must use will plus subject plus be plus complement. For example, will she have arrived? That's all. Thanks for your attention.